The question today is addressed to all Adventists. Should the 1980, very specific, 1980 General Conference Corporate Church of Seventh-day Adventist, that is the official registered name of the denomination since 1905, should the 1980, why 1980? Because 1980 was the landmark move by the General Conference leadership to replace the fundamental principles, belief in number 1 and 2, belief in the one true living God, 1 Corinthians 8:6, and his representative, the Holy Spirit, Psalm 139, verse 7, and the belief in the one divine begotten Son, Jesus Christ, the Son of God. This, John 3:16, of course, and John 17:3. So this question is posed to those who are thinking, honest, respectful, truthful, and wanting to get into the bottom of what is happening to the church that came out after 1844, the year when the prophecy of Daniel 8:14, 2,300 years prophecy, had its fulfillment, October 22, 1844, as most Seventh-day Adventists believe. So the question is for us today, for those who are honest, for those who are truthful, for those who have their Bibles in their hands and in their hearts, for those who are longing for unity, not in numbers, but unity in righteousness and in the truth of God. So this is a question that I would like to pose to you today, dearly beloved friend, if I may say so, without prejudice, without bigotry, without any malice and hatred in the heart. Let us answer and attempt to understand. Should this 1980 General Conference Corporate Church of SDA be called Babylon? Is it right? Or will just be silent? Or we should not call Seventh-day Adventist Church Babylon? Many popular Seventh-day Adventist preachers who are still in the mainstream conference payroll and supported by the mainstream conference church membership would say vehemently and absolutely, they would say, no, do not call the 1980 GC SDA Babylon. And those who are independent, who, meaning those who came out, branched out from the mainstream because of many perceived hypocrisies and also doctrinal errors, they would justify by saying, yes, the 1980 General Conference Church of SDA can be called or should be called Babylon because of their apostasy from the 1872 and 1889 historical truth about the belief of the pioneer Adventist and founders of the Seventh-day Adventist, belief in the one true God and his Son, which in our time, because of the advancement of technology, many people have discovered the writings of Ellen G. White, as the hacked in 2015 disseminated that the writings of Ellen G. White belongs to the people and not to the General Conference Ellen G. White estate. Ellen G. White belongs to everybody, not just to the legal corporate name of the General Conference. This is my stand. It has been 100 years more than since Ellen G. White passed, and her writings must be, according to legal parlance and legal precedence, it must be for all. So this is the contention of this channel. Freedom of religion, freedom of expression, respecting the erroneous authority, but not yielding, respecting their unrighteousness, but not conforming, respecting their rights to be persecuting powers, but not worshiping or bowing to their demands contrary to the law of God. So let us go back to our contention here, to the question I mean. What is the writing of Ellen G. White? Listen to her statement. I would like to read this. You can find this in Selected Messages. Again, Selected Messages, book number 2, page 68, paragraph 3. Again, Selected Messages, book 2, page 68, paragraph 3. She wrote, and I quote, Ellen G. White, "Again, I say, the Lord hath not spoken by any messenger who calls the church that keeps the commandments of God Babylon." She's clear, absolutely clear. Those who keep the commandments of God, whether Seventh-day Adventists, in my opinion, in my understanding of her quote, of her writing, should not be called or cannot be identified or aligned with Babylon, because they keep the commandments of God. What are the commandments of God? The 10 commandments. What is the first commandment? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. What's the fourth commandment? Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. The rest of the commandments are self-explanatory and conscience embedded. Embedded, I mean, in the conscience of man. They know without reading the commandments, they know that dishonoring parents is wrong. They know that killing is wrong or even hated. They know that adultery, fornication is wrong. They may not have read the 10 commandments in Exodus 20 or Deuteronomy, but they know in their hearts, in their conscience, that it's wrong, and they will be guilty and they will escape responsibility. They know that stealing is wrong. They know that lying is wrong, but they do it anyway. They know that greediness or coveting is wrong, but they do it anyway. Man, such is the condition of man. So Sister White is very clear here. The Lord hath not spoken by any messenger who calls the church that keeps the commandments of God Babylon. Meaning, we cannot call those churches that keep the commandments, the 10 commandments of God Babylon. That is what this says. This is what Sister White is expressing. So the next question is, what is Babylon? Great Controversy, page 382, paragraph 3. Babylon is said to be the mother of harlots. By her daughters must be symbolized churches that cling to her doctrines and traditions, meaning in Revelation, beast, conforming to the image of the beast, persecuting power, allowing the authority of the beast or the enemy of God, Rome, to take over the conscience of man. That's Babylon. Furthermore, she writes, Ellen G. White, "And follow the example of sacrificing the truth and the approval of God in order to form an unlawful alliance with the world. The message of Revelation 14 announcing the fall of Babylon must apply to religious bodies that were once pure and had become corrupt." So, should the 1980 General Conference Church of the Seventh-day be called Babylon? According to Ellen G. White here, the message of Revelation 14 announcing the fall of Babylon must apply to religious bodies that were once pure and have become corrupt. The 1872 fundamental principles was pure. The 1980 fundamental belief or creed is not pure. I'm not saying we should be calling the present Seventh-day Adventist Church Babylon. I'm just giving to you or sharing to you the definition and from the writings of Ellen G. White. Again, I would like to repeat for clarification and clarity. The message of Revelation 14 announcing the fall of Babylon must apply to religious bodies that were once pure and have become corrupt. Since this message follows the warning of the judgment, it must be given in the last days. Therefore, it cannot refer to the Roman Catholic Church alone, for that church has been in a fallen condition for many centuries. Furthermore, in the 18th chapter of the Revelation, the people of God are called upon to come out of Babylon. To come out of Babylon. Great Controversy, page 382, paragraph 3. Sister White, in other resources, Selected Messages, book 2, page 68, paragraph 1. The whole chapter, Revelation 18 here, shows that Babylon that has fallen is the churches who will not receive the messages of warning the Lord has given in the first, second, and third angels' messages. They refused the truth and accepted a lie. They refused the messages of truth. See 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 1 to 12. The man of sin is there, of course. The Roman Catholic Church papacy. The message in the 18th chapter of Revelation is plain and clearly defined. So, going back to our question today, should we call the 1980 General Conference Corporate Church of Seventh-day Adventists be summarily labeled as Babylon? I will hold judgment because the Seventh-day Adventist Church of the present, from 1980 until now, has not had a test. The test should come when the Sunday law is enforced, and then those who conform to the beast and its image, that constitutes Babylon. What about the Seventh-day Adventists of today? Well, the first commandment is clearly violated, but many or majority of the Seventh-day Adventist members believe they do not violate the first commandments by worshiping three-in-one God. So this is a contention, and this is an exercise in futility if we call the church Babylon. But we know the characteristics and what constitutes Babylon. Should we use the word Babylon now to our beloved Seventh-day Adventist Church? Of course, the people cannot see the distinction between the 1872 and 1980. What I'm going to counsel and advise is we should stop labeling each other until the great day of test shall come, who will make a stand for the commandments of God, the faith of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. I believe there will be a great reckoning, a great hour of shaking. Not only shaking right now, but it's a great, terrible spiritual shaking. Because not all Seventh-day Adventists are true and loyal to the commandments of God. And not many are also converted. So let us just proceed with our work. But in our minds and our hearts, we know that what constitutes Babylon are those bodies of religious believers who do not obey, particularly the first commandment of God. But we should not dispense because the word Babylon, because it will confuse the others. Because there are two Seventh-day Adventists, the pure Seventh-day Adventist, the corrupted Seventh-day Adventist, but the same name. In order to protect the name that God has given to the pioneers, let us refrain from saying Babylon. But we know what constitutes Babylon. And during the time of the Sunday law enforcement, the key word is enforced against our conscience, just like the inoculation against our conscience enforced. And that's the time that Babylon will be fully revealed. So I hope this has enlightened all of us, friends. I did thought that it was appropriate to call the 1980 corrupt and 1980 GC SDAs corrupt because I have basis of clearly departing or apostatizing from the pure original root. Isn't that not a corruption? The root says there's one God and his son Jesus Christ. The trunk says Trinity. Isn't that not a corruption? I don't know what corruption is if that is not corruption of the truth. So just to be clear, let us refrain from saying Babylon, although we know what constitutes Babylon, breakers of the first commandment, at least the first commandment, because in our church, we keep the Sabbath, the fourth commandment, but many of us lightly regarded it according to the prophecy of Ellen G. White. We should not lightly regard the Sabbath. We should keep the Sabbath day set aside or holy. So the counsel, once again, just to be clear and to be perfectly understood, let us not use that word to the church, because many people do not understand that there are two and separate religious understanding about the Seventh-day Adventists. Although there's one name which was trademarked by the GC, the true Seventh-day Adventists are those humble, uh, continuing their work, faithful in the Word of God, obedient to the law of God, and they are mostly in the countryside, and they're mostly obeying the councils. There are some who are still in the cities for a special purpose, but many of them had already established themselves in places where they are ready for the repeat of persecution. So I hope and pray, friends, that we will be more loving, especially among the ones who are God believers. It has created so much in this group. It has branched out many groups, and that is, in my understanding, that is the will of God. It should be like that, a diaspora, so that the message of truth can be dispersed, not by an organization centralized, lording it over by one man or a committee, no, but by individual conviction and consciences of man. If Christ sets you free, you do not need a conference. If Christ sets you free, you do not need an organization. If Christ sets you free, then those who are free are following Christ. And then you can share the message of truth. May God our Father and His only begotten divine Son, Jesus Christ, continue to bless you and keep you, is my prayer.